3, 2, 1, now! Her BattleMaster lurched forward, but not before Ryan Searcy's Berserker charged past. As she rounded the corner, his 100-ton mech barreled into a Fedcom bushwhacker. Seeing the enemy mech topple and Searcy raise his massive hatchet at an enemy Centurion, Evelina settled her crosshairs on the wide silhouette of a 65-ton Jaeger mech facing the two grasshoppers that had landed behind it. She squeezed her triggers and was rewarded with scorching heat and sweat stinging her eyes. 2 bright blue beams of charged particles and 4 emerald lances of laser energy tore into the Jaeger mech. The thin rear armor turned to slag and ran like water, then the incredible energy stabbed into the mech's interior. The XL fusion engine breached in multiple places as both particle beams raked across it. The 4 medium lasers searched for vital internals through the smoke now roiling out of the Jaeger mech's ruined back. The mech rocked forward as the explosive force of multiple bins of autocannon ammunition detonated, leaving a trail of golden fire and oily black smoke leading to the Jaeger mech corpse now lying in the street. When the BattleTech 2nd edition was released, the heaviest battlemech represented in the cardboard standees was the BattleMaster. Weighing in at 85 tons, it was the go-to for assault brawlers in those early days and is equally as iconic as the Warhammer, Marauder, and Atlas. I remember picking up the 3rd edition and just being blown away by the plastic figures. Even in that less detailed time, it felt special to hold the mechs in your hand as 3D representations, especially the BattleMaster with its unique look and bubbled cockpit. The first BattleMasters walked off the Hollis Industries assembly lines in 2633, during a relatively peaceful time of the Star League. Without the pressure of existing conflict or even looming on the horizon, production numbers were limited. The BattleMaster was seen almost as a vanity project. It was an assault battlemech for a war that likely wouldn't happen. As it turned out, that judgment could not have been more incorrect. Originally constructed from Hollis Mark X steel and enclosing a Vox 340 fusion power plant, the BLR-1G BattleMaster was intended to be a rugged and massive mech that could dominate in combat. During those early years, it lived up to its name as the master of the battlefield. Though it lacked jump jets, the BattleMaster could move at a top speed of 64 km per hour, which was decent for the time and allowed it to keep up with heavy frontline battlemechs. The 14.5 tons of Starguard 4 standard armor allowed the BattleMaster to tank through brawls and more often than not simply outlive the other mechs on the field while hammering away at them with its collection of weapons. The primary weapon for the 1G was the Donal particle projection cannon in the right arm. It had the range and power to be a constant concern for anyone who fought a BattleMaster in the field. Backing up the PPC were 6 Martel medium lasers, which were the workhorse weapon for hundreds of years. They were reliable and provided consistent damage turn by turn. Interestingly, 2 of the 1G's medium lasers were fitted to be rear firing in order to take on any pesky light mechs or infantry that tried to sneak up on it. The Holley SRM-6 launcher was located in the left torso, which made closing on the BattleMaster a dangerous, if not suicidal, tactic. Between the SRMs and the 4 forward-facing medium lasers, no amount of armor would last long. Finally, 2 standard machine guns were installed into the left arm to deal with threats at extremely short range. The BLR-1G started a slow burn demand for the mech across the inner sphere. It earned prestige as a command mech due to its height, spacious cockpit, and Harford Co. COM 4000 communications package. Alexander Kerensky himself piloted one during his attempt to bring the petulant Richard Cameron back into the fold in the final years of the Star League. The 2-seat version of the BattleMaster gave the young Cameron his only real experience in warfare before his untimely end at the hands of Amaris. As the years passed, the BattleMaster's good reputation became a bit of a liability, as often it would draw focused fire from opposing forces who assumed it was a command mech being piloted by a high-profile target. On the other hand, mech technicians would go to great lengths to return a damaged BattleMaster to functional status, even when they would have written off a damaged chassis of another design. Before the beginning of the First Succession War, the BattleMaster could be found across the great houses of the Inner Sphere, though they tended to be most frequently spotted among the Free Worlds League and House Steiner forces due to the large production lines for the mech within their territories. Over the centuries, production lines at other locations were damaged and destroyed, as was the norm for the Succession Wars. However, production of the BattleMaster has never fully stopped, as there was always at least one line somewhere producing a few of them per year. One of the more famous examples of a BattleMaster 1G belonged to Hans Davion. Even though the first Prince of the Federated Suns could choose to pilot any battlemech he wanted, Hans chose the venerated BattleMaster in his early days as a Mechwarrior. He even turned down the opportunity for common command upgrades, which would have traded weapons and armor for improved command and control electronics packages. Preferring to lead by example, Hans wanted to get his hands dirty from frontline combat. He named his BattleMaster Cadmus and then changed it to Dana because don't we all have at least one battlemech named Dana? The machine was eventually preserved in a war memorial following Hans's death, however, its story would not end there. When New Avalon was attacked by the Word of Blake, the famous BattleMaster was damaged and eventually tossed into a warehouse as scrap. Eventually restored and placed back into a spot of honor, it was reported that Dana was shipped back to Luthien as a trophy of war following the Cretan invasion of New Avalon in 3146. Insofar as variants go for the BattleMaster, there are many, far more than we're going to cover in this short video format. However, I have picked 5 which I think are interesting due to their lore or would be fun in tabletop play. If I skip your favorite, assume it was due to malice and not the interests of brevity. Or the opposite of that, whatever works for you. Our first on the slate is the BattleMaster 1D, first spotted in 2867. Fielded among House Davion units, the 1D was an attempt to tweak the design and improve the mech's durability. In a controversial act with many Mechwarriors, the SRM-6 was pulled from the left torso along with the 2 rear-facing medium lasers. The tonnage was then partially spent on 6 additional heat sinks to bring the total to 24. This makes the 1D heat neutral with 2 heat sinks to spare each turn. The last remaining ton was spent on additional armor, pushing the 1D up to 15.5 tons of protection. The BattleMaster 1D is a good pick for a new player if you're either not playing with heat sinks or are playing with someone who has problems managing their heat. Short of dousing the mech in inferno rounds and plasma rifle fire, it's not going to overheat on you. Having talked about the 1D with others, the most common complaint is that loss of the SRM-6 pack. At the very least, the removal of one of those heat sinks and the machine guns would allow for at least some SRM coverage to be re-added. Nelson started his BattleMaster off on a tangent, then twisted the upper body so that the weapons continued to track the Red Corsair's mech. He hit the thumb button on his joystick, launching an SRM flight at her BattleMaster. The missiles shot out from the left side of his mech's chest, spiraling down at the Red Corsair's mech. Fireballs blossomed all over her machine, shredding armor across the chest and arms, and then hitting the left leg. A wave of heat washed over Nelson as his medium pulse lasers next drilled enemy darts into the red mech. One beam sliced huge chunks of armor from the BattleMaster's left leg, enlarging a hole that was made by missile hits. Melting armor oozed from a hole in the mech's chest, and more ran from the gashes made by hits to either arm. The BattleMaster 3S is an interesting refit that removes the iconic PPC from the right arm and instead devotes the weight from it and the removal of the machine guns to long and short-range missiles. First seen in 3025, Red Devil Industries sought to take an imposing mech with a great reputation and reimagined it as a fire support design. This was achieved through the addition of an LRM-20 to the right arm and keeping the SRM-6 in the left torso. I'm including this in my list because it's the BattleMaster variant that Commandant Nelson Geist pilots when he goes up against the Red Corsair's advanced BattleMaster at the beginning of Natural Selection, which just so happens to be one of my favorite BattleTech books. Unfortunately, in practice, the mech has some pretty serious issues, including only 2 tons of ammunition for the LRM-20 that's kept in the right torso, without case, and a mech that has an XL engine. In a fight, the BattleMaster's Mechwarrior is going to want to fire that as quickly as possible before things get dicey. Firing the LRMs only partially solves the problem as there are 2 tons of SRM ammo in the left torso. That's 30 shots of SRM-6, meaning that even in a long fight, there's still likely to be ammunition in the hopper waiting for a spark or a hug from a particle projection cannon to create a very large explosion. What we're left with the BattleMaster 3S is a fire support battlemech that is really only safe at long range, but can only fire 20 LRMs per turn. Closing in on the targets too soon does help bring those 4 medium pulse lasers and their SRMs into play, but doing so also reveals that you're a walking bomb. Sorry Nelson, I give you credit for going up against the Red Corsair with vigor, but we all knew that wasn't going to end well. In 3049, the fine people at Earthworks on Keystone started producing the BattleMaster 3M, a variant that would become wildly popular among the forces of the Free Worlds League. It featured some significant technological upgrades while keeping the spirit of the original design intact. The star of the show is the Mech's Fusagon Longtooth Extended Range Particle Projection Cannon in the right arm. This improved the range of the iconic weapon at the cost of heat, but the 3M can handle it thanks to the conversion of the 18 included heatsinks to the double-strength variety. The 6 medium lasers from the original are retained, including the 2 facing the rear, and the popular SRM-6 on the left torso is preserved. There is just a single machine gun located in the left arm for dealing with targets at close range. Thankfully, the issue with ammunition exploding in previous variants is handled with the addition of case to the left torso, along with all of the mech's ammunition. Even with the lasers and the ERPPC, the 3M runs cool. An alpha strike on a front-facing target will only get you to 31 heat, which can be easily handled. In the unlikely case that you're shooting at 2 targets, one of which is in your rear firing arc, you could run into the red. However, I definitely wouldn't complain about heat in that situation, as you're already likely to be in trouble for other reasons. Overall, I like the BattleMaster 3M because it adds the appropriate tech upgrades for the year without falling into temptation with the Innersphere XL engine, which would have made the mech much less of a nasty brawler and more of a liability. You can't be a master of the battlefield if your mech is knocked out with a missing left or right torso. Now, we can't talk about Nelson Geist's BattleMaster without discussing the Red Corsair's modified 1G. Outfitted in clan technology, including endosteel, 21 double heat sinks, and an XL engine, the Red Corsair's BattleMaster is a monster. Equipped with not 1 but 2 ERPPCs, 1 in each arm, they can be fired every turn along with additional weaponry without worrying about overheating. To add pulse laser to injury, the mech is also equipped with a large pulse laser located in the center torso, along with 6 medium pulse lasers split between the 2 side torsos, 2 of which are rear-facing. While not even close to heat neutral, firing all of those weapons, the Red Corsair's 1G can cause tremendous amounts of damage consistently each turn. It will also outlast most other foes at 85 tons thanks to the 16 tons of standard armor. It hits like a truck, can absorb a lot of damage, and it's no wonder that our poor friend Nelson Geist had a hard time facing it in his 3S variant. The BattleMaster 5M hit the scene in 3067, and it's interesting as an attempt to extend the range at which the mech could hit hard, other than with a variation of the PPC. In the right arm is an ER large laser as well as a light Gauss rifle. Kudos for finally trying out Gauss technology, BattleMaster. 6 ER medium lasers, 2 rear-facing, are split between the left and right torso and allow the 5M to hit out to up to 12 hexes. The 14 double heat sinks do an acceptable job of keeping the mech cool, though you aren't going to want to make a habit out of alpha striking, even leaving off the 2 rear-facing lasers. Facing forward, that would be 33 heat, so 5 over at the end of the turn. Not terrible, but leaving just 1 ER medium laser unfired would leave you with 0 heat without the -1 movement penalty. I like the 5M because it's solid, it can make people think twice about closing on it, and it can reach out and hit pretty hard. The drawbacks are the lack of the 10+ damage weapon that can punch through armor, and the Gauss rifle explosion, which could end up taking out that ER large laser in the same arm. Something to ponder, perhaps. Now, our Dark Age variant for today is the BattleMaster 6R, which was first spotted in 3104. The upgraded endosteel structure and light engine buys the mech some extra tonnage for 16 double heat sinks and a new set of weapons. In the right arm, a heavy PPC is going to be doing most of the mech's damage out to 18 hexes. Backing it up, in place of the traditional 4 medium lasers, are 4 light PPCs, 2 in each side torso. The SRM-6 is back, though in streak form, and for small and flammable targets that wander too close, 2 small X-pulse lasers in the left arm can be quite fun. Thankfully, because the fans demanded it, a pair of ER small lasers were added to the side torsos that cover that rear firing arc. Now, for our Mechfrog variant, designated the BattleMaster 1MF, the design set for a production year of 3152 uses Innersphere technology except for the use of 18 clan double heatsinks. Construction from endosteel, a light engine maintains the strength and speed of the original 1G with newer tech. Now, that light engine is a trade-off of weight for a reduced average lifespan, but I plan on making the most of the mech's weight. With 16 tons of standard armor, the 1MF is going to be one tough cookie. As far as weaponry goes, everything is Innersphere tech, so just to save time with the explanation here. The left arm features an ERPPC. This is your heavy hitter, at least until you can bring the plasma rifle located in the right arm into play. Yep, plasma rifle. Please try to contain your shock that Mechfrog put a plasma rifle on a mech. 2 tons of ammunition is also located in the arm, and that's enough to get you through most engagements. In the shorter ranges, we have the SRM-6 in the left torso, just out of tradition, though it is the streak variety. Joining it in the left torso is an anti-missile system along with 1 ton of ammunition. Case was added to protect the ammunition in that left torso. For close-range conflict resolution, I added 3 medium pulse lasers to the left arm, and in the right torso there is a nod to the original loadout with the addition of a rear-facing ER small laser. I think the BattleMaster 1MF would be a fun brawler that could throw a wrench into the plans of its opponents by being potent at the long and short range. If it can get close, a near alpha strike would do some pretty horrific damage and pump up the target's heat to prevent getting hit as hard the next turn. The AMS is a nice little insurance policy to help the mech close distances with its targets, as well as reducing the effectiveness of incoming fire support LRMs. There are, of course, at least 2 dozen other official variants of the BattleMaster out there, and I would encourage you to explore them all. It's a great platform for some unique builds both in-universe and on the tabletop. If you want to see something truly nutty, check out the BLR-6X with its large XXL engine. While most mechs aren't privy to knowing exactly how they're going to be destroyed, the BLR-6X knows its cause roughly 95% of the time. Do you have a favorite BattleMaster variant? Let me know in the video comments and we'll keep the discussion going. It's a testament to the popularity and longevity of the BattleMaster that is still being produced from factories across the Inner Sphere at the dawn of the IlClan era. The Beamer is here to stay, and I'm quite happy to say that. Now I just wish I could find my original Ral Partha sculpt. Thanks as always for coming by today to talk BattleTech. I was away for a few days to attend a wedding, so I apologize for the temporary pause in the nonsense. If you feel the video was worthwhile, hitting that like and subscribe button is a painless and free way to let YouTube and I know I did a good job. Going the extra step to becoming a channel member goes a long way to make sure I can keep this venture going for a little bit longer. The nonsense must flow. Until we meet again, take care and go make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.